Hello and welcome to the next in our series of technical webinars on the subject of bulk carrier practice. My name is Stephen Gosling. I'm Head of Information and Publications here at the Nautical Institute in central London. I am delighted to be joined today on the call by an esteemed panel of experts on this topic, joining us from all over the globe. We have Osama Darif out in Houston, Texas. We have Walter Belosum, who's joining us here in Europe, and Captain Hemant Gupta, the revising author of our best-selling book on this topic, joining us from India. So, panel of speakers, thank you very much for joining us. And our moderator, my colleague David Petrejko, joining me here at headquarters in London. Before we get going, I would like to spend just 30 seconds telling you a bit more about the Nautical Institute. I know many of you registered for the call today are members of the Institute, but some of you are not. So I'd like to just outline who we are and what we do. The Nautical Institute is an international professional body, and we have members globally. So if you like the kind of thing that we're talking about today, you wish to engage a deeper level, then please engage with the Institute. There is most likely a branch very close to you or a development contact in your region. And we'll come back to that a little bit later. We exist to help our members with their professional development and to promote the professional standing of the maritime profession. And we do that in a number of ways, through our information and publications, through our international journal, through our technical webinars, and through our representation of members at international fora such as the IMO and IALA. We do share information, and by sharing information, that informs best practice. And one of the ways we do that is through these webinars. And we think that by sharing information and promoting that best practice, it leads to improved decision making. And of course, bulk carrier practice, that's what we're here to discuss today, to hear about some of the challenges, complexities, and conundrums facing the industry from our panel of experts. So they'll be sharing their knowledge and some of their practices with you today. So please feel free to join us if all of that floats your boat and you'd like to learn more. You'll see on the screen there, we have some screen grabs of the software that we use for our webinar today. Unfortunately, you will not be able to share your camera or your audio with us, but you are able to send in your questions through the pop-out chat panel that appears on your screen. Just remember to hit the send button once you've typed out your question, and we'll do our very best to get through as many questions as we can in the short 60 minutes that we have to complete this webinar. We also plan to run a couple of polls with you today, and this is our way of engaging with you and to learn a little bit from you, our audience, on some of the answers to some of the questions that we've put together today on this topic. So look out for those a bit later today. Finally, at the end of the webinar, you will receive a short pop-up survey from us, and it will ask you for just 2 minutes of your time to complete a feedback on how you think today's webinar went, what you liked about it, and what you think we could improve on. You'll also, in a few days from now, as part of our thank you message, receive your certificate of attendance. This is a professional development certificate which you can keep along with your own records. And along with your CPD certificate, if you would like to share the webinar with those that are unable to attend or go back and listen to it all over again, you're very welcome to do so on our YouTube channel. This webinar will be recorded today and uploaded to the Nautical Institute's YouTube channel, and also be available in the members portal on our website for any of our members that are tuned in today. There's a great many of you out there that are registered for the event today, 509 to be exact. So when you are sending in your questions, please do keep them short and succinct, and we'll do our very best to get through as many as we can. And it's now my absolute pleasure to hand proceedings over to my colleague, David Petrejko, who is the moderator for today's webinar. David.
Thanks very much, Stephen. Just to reiterate what Stephen said, we really do want your feedback. We will, even if we don't answer every question you send in, we will read them all. So please send us any messages because we really want to hear your feedback. So of the presenters, we're going to have 3 presentations, and then those will be about 10 minutes each. And then we will have hopefully about a half an hour of questions and answers. So our first speaker is Osama Darif, who is the head of operations, RightShip America. Osama is a master mariner, and he had command at the age of 28. He joined RightShip in 2016 as a vetting superintendent before stepping up to take the lead of the America's vetting team in 2020. He is an author of papers, including RightShip's insight paper into entry on enclosed spaces. And I know there are a lot of questions about enclosed spaces, so he's the right person to ask for that. He has very passionate about influencing the future of the marine industry with particular interest in safety, sustainability, and crew welfare. If you'd like to know more about Osama, he is on LinkedIn so that you can contact him. So Osama, I'm going to give you the control.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Bulk carrier transport huge volumes of goods across oceans, forming the backbone of the international trade. However, with great scale comes great responsibility, and that's where vetting and marine assurance play a pivotal role. Vetting is essentially a thorough evaluation of the ship, its crew, and associated companies to ensure they meet stringent safety and quality standards. It's about preemptively identifying and addressing potential risks before they escalate through influencing safety, operational efficiency, and risk mitigation. My name is Osama Darif, and I've spent the past 3 decades in the maritime industry, specializing in risk management and mitigation. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about best practices and vetting in the maritime industry. Vetting isn't just a formality. It's about ensuring safety, reducing operational risks, and guaranteeing compliance with industry standards. This is a crucial step for the well-being of crew, safety of cargo, and environmental sustainability. Marine assurance, on the other hand, is not just a ticking box exercise. It's about ensuring overall operational excellence. Marine assurance also goes beyond vetting, as it is encompassing a holistic approach to quality management and adherence to industry best practices. It's about creating a culture of excellence that permeates every aspect of bulk carriers' operations. A question that we often receive in RightShip is, why does RightShip inspect vessels? I think the best way to put it is that the objective of RightShip's inspection is to assess the quality of ships, verify the familiarity and compliance of the ship's crew with safety statutory requirements, industry recommendations, best practices, and the required items within RightShip inspection ship questionnaire. The outcome of the RightShip dry inspections will reflect the actual condition and the standards of operations of the vessel at the time of the inspection. The RightShip dry inspection will also allow the identification and the assessment of associated risks that the use of this vessel may transfer to our clients and external stakeholders. Managers can then use this critical information to influence management style by either enhancing their safety culture and behavior or implementing different things. On the left of the screen, we are displaying a comparison between vessels that have had incidents in the 6 months before and the 6 months after an inspection. The analysis across ship types, mainly bulk carriers and general cargo vessels, showed that off of the 539 vessels that had an incident within this window and an inspection, 46.8% of these vessels had an incident before right ship inspection. Yet, this number dropped to 17.8% in the 6 months following an inspection. There was a significant drop in serious incidents, as shown from Category A, where there were 23 in the 6 months before the inspection, to only 5 in the 6 months after the inspection. Category B shifted from 66 down to 10, whereas Category C dropped down from 195 to only 89 incidents. The diagram, also on the left side, provides a comparison of vessels that had port stay control inspections in the 6 months before and the 6 months after an inspection. Similarly, across ship types, primarily bulk carriers and general cargo vessels, the diagram shows that there is a notable difference between the 6 months period prior to the right ship inspection with 200 detentions, where they dropped down to only 70 detentions in the 6 months after being inspected. The average deficiencies shifted from 5 deficiencies per inspection to only 1.8 per inspection, comparing to before and after periods as well. Obviously, that shows a huge improvement in the performance of vessels as well as the managers. While regulations set minimum standards, best practices extend well beyond these boundaries. For instance, regulations may prescribe emergency response plans, but the best practice will recommend the scenarios-based training and proactive risk assessments, which are proven to enhance safety and mitigate risks. Effective risk management is the linchpin of our industry's sustainability and success. It goes beyond compliance, checkbox, and it also is about anticipating, assessing, and mitigating risks comprehensively. Industry studies include different insights papers and different circulars from different P&I clubs, Nautical Institute, Right Ship, and the likes, underscore the direct correlation between advanced risk management practices and operational excellence. On the other hand, effective risk management is also very noticeable when it comes to the industry standards like TMSA, Dry BMS, and the RISQ, which is Right Ship Inspection Ship Questionnaire. If we would like to look at the proactive approach to best practice, you will find that, as you can see on the screen on the right-hand side, TMSA and Dry BMS are two of the industry leaders when it comes to best practices in ship management. It is safe to say that Dry BMS and TMSAs are very important in terms of setting the standards in ship management, as they include different management styles. The approach that we would like to see always in Right Ship is the proactive management style, proactive maintenance, proactive improvement to safety culture, and everything else. By embracing this best practice, we navigate towards excellence, ensuring safety, sustainability, and operational excellence in the maritime industry. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Salma. That was brilliant. I know some of the questions coming in were about how do you know that the inspection regime is having a good effect? And I think you answered that brilliantly with those slides, and congratulations on that fantastic track record. I'm sure everybody's thrilled with that.
Thank you.
Okay, so next one up is Captain Hemant Gupta, who is the principal consultant with Drury Shipping Consultants. And Captain Hemant is a master mariner and a fellow of the Nautical Institute. He has many years at sea, mostly in dry bulk, before he came ashore and worked dry bulk in ports, now with Drury, so absolutely fantastic. He's a great member, contributor to the Nautical Institute. He's been on the Nautical Institute's technical committee for many years. He's a contributor to Seaways. Thank you so much. He's a member of the Green Curriculum Working Group, and not least, he is the editor of our new updated book on bulk carrier practice. Many of you will have recognized that this is originally done by the late Captain Isbester, and now Captain Gupta has updated it. So thank you very much for that, sir. So without any further ado, off you go, please.
Thanks, David. Hello, everyone. My presentation focuses mainly on dry bulk operations. Next. Yeah, we hear a lot about decarbonization. Most of the ways adopted requires high capex, and there are also other ways, the so-called low-hanging fruits, by adopting certain energy-saving devices and software like such as STEM optimization, etc. However, I want to talk about not the low-hanging fruits, but the lowest hanging fruits, which does not require us to sink any capex or incur any OPEX or install any software. The beauty of this is that it not only reduces the emission from the vessel, but also reduces the emission from the port equipment as well as the emission from the vessel which is waiting at the anchorage. So it's a win-win situation for everyone. Next. Okay, so this lowest hanging fruit is by improving the discharge rate with the joint effort of the port and the vessel. The port benefits with improved productivity, lesser dumbrage or high dispatch, lower berth congestion, and of course, lower emission. Now, the common inefficiencies in the port are, for number one, longer time from cast off of the first vessel to berthing of the next vessel, or longer time from all fasts of the vessel to commencement of the cargo operation. Then we have longer shift change time by the stevedores in the port. Many times I've seen that discharging sequence is made in a way that such that each hold is discharged 3 times in order to complete the discharging, which can easily be reduced safely, and the sequence can be made in such a way so as to minimize the distance traveled by the unloader during the hatch change. Then we also have inefficient hold cleaning equipments and longer time taken for lowering the cleaning equipments into the hold. It is also common to see one unloader stopping 6 to 8 hours earlier than the other unloader, or maybe more. However, the discharging sequence can be easily adjusted so that 2 ship unloaders operate together for the maximum duration. Then we have longer stoppages due to yard issues, and finally longer time from cargo completion to sailing of the vessel, which can be controlled to a good extent by having a policy of overstay dockage penalty. This is adopted in Singapore. Now, all the above inefficiencies are common, and now let me give you some numbers. If we save just 10 minutes per hold by removing the above inefficiencies, the port stay of a 7-hold Panamax reduces by 70 minutes. So in a 36 hours port stay, this amounts to 3% higher discharge rate, which means 3% lesser emissions. Next slide. Okay, this is a simple case study to show how productivity can be improved by taking simple steps. Let me give some background first. Port of Singapore wanted to improve productivity of cement discharging berth, which was on a landlord model and operated by the client. The berth used to handle standard bulk carriers and not the specialized cement carriers. And the discharging was carried out by screw unloaders. It was noted that the discharging from hole number 1, when we discharged hole number, the speed of the conveyor belt was reduced purposefully, as there was a turn on the conveyor belt close to this hole, as you can see from the figure on the right in the slide. This was done to prevent cargo spillage near the bend. Now, since the vessel was on a regular voyage between the same ports, we played around with the loading computer of the vessel, and solution adopted was to modify the stowage plan for subsequent loading of the vessels so as to reduce the quantity of cargo loaded in hole 1 and increase in other holes. This was done so that the speed of the belt is reduced for lesser duration when discharging from hole 1. Finally, the vessel productivity increased by more than 10% in 3 months duration, mainly due to this initiative. A point to note here is that all this was done without sinking any capex. Next slide. I will start the subject of emerging trends with the requirement for new skill sets and competency. Next one. In the present era of digitalisation and decarbonisation, there are many emerging trends. For example, the enhanced cyber security. In fact, regulatory bodies are increasingly see cyber security as a critical element to safe design of the vessel nowadays. And in fact, it came in the news just last week that the demand for ransoms have increased by more than 350% over the last 1 year. And therefore, DNV has now started cyber secure class notation. We also have usage of drones for inspection and also for supplies. For examples, drones are often used in sending bunker sample from vessel to shore in Singapore. Even remote surveys are there nowadays. Then we have decarbonization push, which has resulted in usage of digital twins, software for trim optimization, etc. Then monitoring equipment, requirement for energy saving devices. Then we have hull cleaning robots. It was also created the need for new skill set to handle alternative fuels, which are hazardous and toxic. We are now also seeing a slow journey towards autonomous vessels, or rather semi-autonomous vessels for short voyages, which require newer type of radars and cameras. All these will either require new skill set and new competencies for the crew, some of which will require shore-based training, and some will require training on the go. Next. Coming to some key issues, new issues which have evolved in the last few years in bulk cargo operations. Bulk cargo operations are becoming more complex. Also, some type of claims have become more common, or new types of claims are emerging. All these require deeper understanding of the operation. One must understand the new issues experienced with cargo of bauxite, which is susceptible to a phenomena called dynamic separation. It is equally important to comprehend the signs of liquefaction or dynamic separation from the visual inspection of the cargo, as well as the behavior of the vessel, so that prompt actions can be taken for the safety of the crew and the vessel. High moisture in dunnage used for steel or loading multiple cargoes in one hold has become more common. Consequently, claims are also increasing because of this. Hence, it is critical to understand what steps to take to minimize these issues and what all records must be maintained by the vessel in case there is a claim. Then we have usage of international navigation limits instead of institute warranty limits, which is now becoming popular for the trading limits. And it is paramount for the vessel crew and the master to understand this from the perspective of insurance coverage of the vessel. From a commercial perspective, it is important to understand new charter party clauses like slow steaming clause, just-in-time clause, etc. Nowadays, not only we have enhanced port state inspection, but also right ship inspection, which my colleague just now mentioned. These, along with the tightening of regulations, demand that the vessel must be well maintained and follow the best industry practices. To add on, well-maintained vessels help in reducing the delays, reducing the number of accidents and claims, and therefore contribute to the reputation of the ship owner and the ship managers. Next slide, please. So this brings us to the question, how do we embed quality into the culture of bulk shipping operation? Next one. Quality in bulk shipping operation is achieved in many ways. For example, we have various mandatory courses and competency exams, and we also have ISM procedures. But in the present era of intense competition, just being competent is not enough. One has to strive to be an expert, for which you also need to have sufficient experience and also need to go beyond the normal to develop the expertise by various methods. For example, by learning from own mistakes or mistakes by others. Then learning from industry best practices. For example, best practices in usage of cranes and grabs, or best practices to avoid claims or avoid vessel off-hire. We also learn by reading case studies on safety matters and operation matters, and of course, by being curious and asking questions. In the revised edition of the bulk carrier practice, there is a lot of focus on practical aspect of operations with examples and case studies. Even many articles from the CVA magazine of the Nautical Institute, as well as the Mars report for bulk carriers operation on safety, have been included. That's the end of my presentation, and happy to take any question during the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hemant. It's having spent some time on bulk carriers myself, it's amazing how much technology and digitalization is happening on the humble bulk carrier. So it is my great pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Walter Bavlusin, who is also a fellow of the Nautical Institute. He is also chairman of the IMCS group of companies. He started his life as a deck officer before he became a marine surveyor. He is now the managing director of the IMCS Training Academy, so many of you will have done his courses. He is also the vice president of the Nautical Institute. Congratulations on that, Walter. He's chairman of the Belgian branch of the Nautical Institute. He's a training instructor for hatch cover training. He has been an author of a number of other Nautical Institute publications, not least Hatch Cover Inspection and Mooring. And he is also one of our co-authors of our program on command. So Walter, I'm just going to give you the con here.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining this webinar. And perhaps before starting my presentation, I would like to congratulate Captain Gupta on the great work that he has done in revising the book of Captain Isbester. My presentation will go about bulk carriers and hatch cover tightness and ensuring that the vessel is fit for the cargo and vice versa. And basically, the first slide that we see here is something that gave rise to the to SOLAS and to the establishment of the IMO, and it deals about actually with tightness, both integrity of the hull. I mean, it shows also the tightness of doors, ramps that are under the waterline and which we refer to as watertight, and tightness of hatch covers and doors, ventilators and other openings that are above the waterline and to which we refer to as weathertight. So Another important convention is the load line convention, which requires that hatch covers are tight in any sea condition, which means that no water should go into the ship from what we call the weather side, as you can see on the sketch above. And in order to keep the water out, the hatch covers have to be strong to withstand the weather and the cargo loads. They have to be weather tight and they must be properly secured. Now, why is this necessary? Because the load line, we have to keep water out, and the load line should not be submerged at any stage of the voyage. So if we would have water entry into the ship, that would add weight to the ship, the load line would become submerged, which in itself is a violation of the load line convention. Also, if we get water in the vessel, a cubic meter weighs a ton, we may end up with having a deeper draft, which means less freeboard, more exposure to the elements, less reserve buoyancy, and increased hydrostatic pressure on the ship structure. Now, let us put that tightness issue and align it with the bulk carrier owner's business model. And that business model consists actually of transporting cargo from A to B in an efficient and an environmental friendly manner and delivering the cargo in good condition, which for dry cargo ships means also in a dry condition. And of course, cargo should be delivered in time. Now, to do that, we require a quality ship and quality equipment. I mean, the reliability and the availability of this are vital to that business model. And so we require to have a seaworthy, a cargo-worthy vessel that is equipped, supplied, manned for the intended voyage. And that includes the hatch covers and their weather tightness, because they are both paramount to complete the voyage in a beneficial way. If the hatch covers are not weather tight, we may actually suffer from wetting damage, which results in claims, high legal costs. The profitability of the voyage is scuttled, and also we can see that image and reputation may be damaged as well. Now, what we have to recognize is that we have a little bit of an anomaly in the industry, because many people look to hatch covers as being huge, robust, heavy equipment, and automatically that is associated with the fact that the hatch covers can be bullied and that they require little attention or maintenance. Furthermore, we know and we see that hatch covers are very often improperly operated, that they are seldom repaired in line with good industry practice, in an attempt to cut corners from a financial point of view, and that they are not properly inspected. On the contrary, actually, I mean, hatch covers are fine pieces of engineering, and they are only operating well if we respect small tolerances, small clearances, which are very often in the range of a few millimeters, and that those clearances and tolerances are respected. Another thing that is very important is that hatch covers should be maintained. And I emphasize here maintenance, because maintenance is something that can be done by the crew, but repairs to the hatch covers, they need to be done by specialists. Especially if we are talking about these small clearances and tolerances. I mean, that's very difficult to have that done by the ship's crew. Now, despite the importance of hatch covers, both from a legal and a statutory point of view, as well as from a commercial point of view, we do see that inspections still reveal serious concerns, and the industry sees continuing claims arising from wetting damage. And just to illustrate that, I mean, we are involved in the management of a platform of about 2,000 vessels, of which regular, let's say, on average, 600 vessels are inspected per year. And I have just made a slide here that shows the results of inspections on almost a number of 1,000 vessels. And you will see that on these 1,000 vessels that were inspected, an average of 10 or 11 hatch cover related defects were found, with packing rubbers being the most important category there. Almost, let's say, 20% of the total number of damages can be seen on the packing rubbers. But actually the packing rubbers, they are only showing the symptoms. The real cause lies in the key items that control position, sealing, compression, and which keep the panels in place. And they are depicted by the blue color. And you will also see that, I mean, the drain channels, which are the last barrier to safety and before water entry into the hold, that we see a lot of problems with the drain channels and with the drain systems and the drain valves. And last, but definitely not least, we see that on those 1,000 vessels, roughly 30% of the ships do not have a manual in place or on board. That brings us also to another important issue about tightness, and that's the ultrasonic testing, which is something that we actually installed more than 30 years ago, which is currently, let's say, the preferred way of testing hatch covers. And we will see that ultrasonic testing reveals that roughly 30% of the vessels may pass a test. But if we look to the visual inspection, we will see that only 6% of the vessels do not have any problems related to the visual condition of the hatch covers. And while that may look to be an anomaly, that is not the case actually, because when we look to what ultrasound testing actually does, is to control, to inspect, to test the integrity and the condition of the sealing system. It gives us information on the compression of the packing rubber, which is vital to know. On the other hand, the visual inspection is carried out on the key parts that ensure that the packing rubbers can be kept and secured in their correct sealing position with the correct compression. And also that is vital. And it is only the combination of an ultrasonic test or a test in general, together with the visual inspection results, that will allow us to say that hatch covers are weathertight or not. But again, we see that there is a problem here, because in many cases we see that the instructions that that are given to the surveyors are limited to carrying out an ultrasonic test only. And as we have seen that both the test and the visual inspection are necessary, we are thereby limiting, let's say, the scope of the inspection to 50% only. And that may well give a false sense of security, because it is not because you pass the ultrasonic test that your hatch covers are actually fully weathertight and fit for duty. And that explains actually why still we see that vessels arrive with damage after an ultrasonic test was carried out in the load port, simply because the key component parts were not visually inspected. And of course, it's important to realize that the test results are only reliable when the data are correct and the test properly carried out by qualified professionals. So if we wrap up this part of the presentation already, and in case, or if we want to secure and boost the business model by limiting hatch cover related damages and problems, then I would say that it is important that you give proper inspection and test instructions to surveyors, and that goes by owners, for charters, shippers. I mean, give the right instruction and preferably ask them to carry out the test together with the visual inspection. Then try to make meaningful hatch cover checklists, not just yes, no, not applicable, and so on. Try to be specific and go for the facts and the figures. Try to measure tolerances and clearances, because only that will give you useful information. Then ensure that your manuals and drawings are on board. Train your crew and their superintendents regarding onboard maintenance, and leave the repairs and the service to the professionals. Do not waste the opportunity when you go in dry dock to have a pre-docking inspection carried out by professionals. I mean, the costs related or the costs that you will see for something like a pre-docking inspection is nothing related to what improper repairs or incomplete repairs could be. Also try to use the correct spare parts as specified in the manual, and try to implement the system to document everything that you do for your hatch covers, because that is going to help you improving due diligence. Furthermore, do not forget that if your hatch covers would leak, you are actually having a non-compliance with regards to rules and regulations. And that can be SOLAS, where we see hatch covers in many chapters, but it can also be MARPOL, the Load Line Convention, and the Code of Safe Working Practice, MLC, and class requirements. It also means that you are non-compliant with industry standards for insurance cover, for P&I, and so on. And in the end, leaking hatch covers always demonstrate lack of due diligence. Now, it doesn't stop only with hatch covers when we have to see if a ship is fit for the voyage. From the same inspection program, I have made a small table which gives you an overview of defects that we find and which are actually quite serious, related to bilges suction, bilge backflow, also from a visual inspection point of view, things which are not in order, as well as the ballast tank pressure tests and preparing the holds for loading cargo, especially see that the holds have been properly washed down. And from another point of view, if you look, if the ship is fit for the cargo and if the cargo is fit for the trading pattern in the ship, I mean, just think about a few things, like if you have a ship with slow closing hatch covers and you would be trading to the tropics with tropic rain showers setting in, I mean, then that may be a problem. See that your hatch covers and your hatch cover system is ready to trade in sub-zero temperatures if you are going to those areas. Think about the tank top strength with the uniform load versus the point loads. And see that the lashing terminal points in the hold are included in your cargo securing manual. So another point which we have seen a few times already is that cargoes are being loaded that are not in the annex of the exemption certificate that has been issued for the fixed firefighting equipment. So there are other examples and let's say situations, but this already gives you a little bit of a good overview. And then, of course, to end my presentation, and if we are looking into the future, and if we are taking care of the environment and sustainability, then, I mean, from a hatch cover point of view, we see that electric operated hatch covers are coming on the scene. They are more energy efficient. They do not use hydraulic oil for the operation, which is, of course, an environmental issue as well. From a safety point of view, they do allow the operator of the hatch covers to walk around the hatch because he has a portable control unit, which allows him to have a very good overview. And finally, if you are working towards sustainability and environmental friendly operation, you will, of course, also meet the expectations of your customers who are placing green high on the agenda. So that would end my presentation, and I do wish everyone a safe and a profitable voyage. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Walter. That was fantastic, and you know, to think that people can not pay so much attention to the hatch covers maintenance and how just vitally important that is. Okay, we're just going to launch a little survey here, so please choose. You can choose more than one, so maybe two. And obviously, all of these subjects are absolutely critical. We're just trying to get a little bit of feedback, very unscientific, on what your thoughts are on this. But all of these are vitally important, and they are all covered in the book. So let's just close that out. and share it. Right. Captain Gupta, I'm going to ask you to share your thoughts on this, given that you are the editor of the book. So obviously the stability and loading is by far the highest, followed by cargo care. What are your thoughts on that?
Thanks, David. Yeah, very interesting results. Yes, I fully agree with the results. Stability and loading is, in fact, the most important aspect because it also affects the safety of the crew and the vessel. Now, in this, specifically when you're loading grain has a lot of technical issues with the stability. It requires a lot of complicated calculations to be done. So that's where it is the most important. And now we are having a lot of cases of vessel, the cargo getting liquefied. So that also affects the stability. So indeed, the poll is very interesting. The stability and is the most critical component. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Hamid. Right, we got lots of questions coming in, so let's see how many we can get. Walter, I think this one's coming to you. Osama. How does the RightShip access competence and qualification of the seafarers and the crew members on board bulk carriers, considering their crucial role in implementing best practice? And that's from Ferdinand.
Right. So thank you for the question. When RightShip goes on board for dry bulk inspections, we do have a lot of interviews and interaction with ship's crew, of course. All ranks. We don't only sit in the captain's cabin and check certificates and only talk to the captain and the senior officers. And I myself am one of the accredited RightShip inspectors, and I in fact have an inspection on the 29th. So part of what we do is interview. We go around, we ask questions, and we deal with different crew members, and we factor this in our assessment. And we establish also their level of familiarization, understanding of different equipment on board a vessel. We see them operating these equipments and testing them. So we do assess that in this context.
That's a really important point. Hemant, maybe this one is for you. It's from Kunal. And he says, one of the issues I observe on board is cleaning of cargo holds, as there are so many accidents reported of the crew falling from the top of the hold, thus causing so many accidents. What are your thoughts on that?
Crew cleaning, the complicated part of the whole cleaning is that it has to be done in a very short duration. Most of the time that there is very insufficient time between the completion of discharging and doing the next loading. So it is very important that the vessel is maintained in good condition at all times. Now, for example, if you know the vessel is going to load, let's say, I don't know, using the ship's canes and grabs, then you have something called spill plates in the grabs. You have to remove those spill plates because the iron ore is very heavy. Now, if they're not well maintained, you need to divert some of the crew to clean them up, remove the spill plates, so the manpower becomes even less. But yes, it is very important that whole thing is done in a very systematic manner and a calm manner, especially if you're doing it at night time. The lighting must be very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Hemant. Absolutely right. And this should be part of the toolbox talk and the risk assessment on board. Because as somebody who reads a lot of Mars reports, absolutely, it's a very dangerous activity, or it can be a dangerous activity. Right, Walter, I think this one's for you. Can you provide insights into the latest technological advancements or innovations in hatch cover design and sealing systems to maximize tightness and prevent cargo leakages? So we've seen more or less similar technology for many years. And as you say, well maintained, it does work. But is there new technology that's coming out?
think one of the most one of the biggest challenges that we see now is that, of course, I mean, we see the Arctic routes being used frequently. I mean, exposure to cold temperatures is definitely something that needs to be considered. We also see that the electric powered equipment is making its entry now. I mean, it's becoming not commonplace yet, but we are seeing that, of course, together with the use of electrics, we also have to change the designs of hatch covers, and I think we will see much more of that in the coming years. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much. Osama, this one is from Quentin. He says, decades ago, there were calls for a bulk carrier endorsement course akin to the tanker endorsement course. Is there still an appetite for these?
It's actually a very good question. So it goes back to the qualification versus competence, and this is an ongoing discussion that has been there in the maritime industry for so long. So there's everybody, in order for officers, engineers, and even ratings to work on board vessels, everyone has to have this small piece of paper, that COC, certificate of competence, but which is the qualification for people to work on board. I believe that the competence itself, and in its own definition, it encompasses not only the certificate that you have to be qualified, but also it encompasses soft skill trainings and in the ability to make the right decision at the right time, and the confidence level that comes with it. When it comes to endorsement, I'm 100% in full support of this. Obviously, it's not my decision though, but I do agree that specialization is something that is very important. And just like tanker endorsements, I would support 100% the endorsement for bulk carriers, because it's a very big sector of the industry, and it's very important to have specialized people working on board vessels that they are fully familiar with its operations. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Osama. Absolutely, people matter so much. Now, speaking of people and professionalism, this question comes from David, and I'm going to initially send it to you, Hemant, but maybe the others can comment. David is a former CEO of a major steel import terminal. And he says the interface with stevedores and the terminal operator is a crucial part of the bulk carrier operations. I'm surprised that the table of contents does not include a chapter on this. Is it in the book somewhere?
Yeah. Okay. Yes, it is very important. A good interaction with the stevedores is very critical, and that's why this bulk carrier operation book is not only meant for the seafarers. It is equally important for the terminal operators to read it, understand, so they appreciate why the crew is making a certain request or why they're having a certain problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Hemant. Right, this question is for Walter and Osama. Good afternoon. Thank you for the excellent presentations. Would Osama and Walter comment on the right ship requirement to provide training for hatch covers by the hatch cover maker when not all makers provide such training? Osama, do you want to take that first?
There are different ways to comply with this particular question in right ship risk, and it is actually included within the guidance to this question. So if you refer back to the guidance to this question, you will find these different ways. One of them, like you essentially mentioned, is the training by manufacturer, but in the absence of such training, operators can resort to something different that is also highlighted within the guidance of the right ship inspection.
Okay, thank you. Walter, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, that is actually what people should try to find out. I think the best is to communicate or to to do that in dialogue with RightShip, what is acceptable and what is expected actually. And expected from the ship owners. I have heard a number of questions about this also coming on my desk, asking people, okay, what should we do? And I think it is a fact that not all hatch cover manufacturers do have teams ready to go on board to instruct crews which are changing from vessel to vessel and so on. So, but there are alternatives definitely available, and that is something that I think is best discussed with the people of RightShip, indeed.
Okay, thank you very much. So we're just going to launch another quick poll here. So man your buttons. Hemant in his presentation talked about new competencies that are going to be essential. So we were just interested in getting your feedback on what some of those competencies you think are most important. So very interesting, all the application of technology on board now, and it's not just bulk carriers. So this is one of the big challenges we have at the Nautical Institute, is looking ahead at where some of these competencies are and how we can best help our members and others achieve them. So I'll just share with you. Hemant, can you see this? What do you think? New fuels is definitely up there, and cybersecurity.
Actually, I'm a bit surprised to see the results. Honestly speaking, I would say the new fuel handling, that is the most critical thing which is going to come up. New competency will be required. Now, for example, when you talk of fuel, methanol fuel or ammonia fuel, either they are very toxic or they are very hazardous. Even doing the bunkering for these fuels is not very easy. And keeping in mind, especially if you're talking of bulk carriers, the bulk carrier crew do not have any experience of working in a tanker, or they have very limited experience of working on tanker. So I would say my vote goes for the new fuels. Training for the new fuels will be the most critical. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I also note that you've been helping us with our green curriculum work, which we hope to work with the industry to try to make sure that as these new fuels come in, they're as safe as possible. So just with my eye on the time, we are just wrapping it up. And I would like to offer you a discount. So if you are interested in this publication for the next week, I think till the 5th of November, we're offering a very special rate of 40% off. And you can click on that link. If you're viewing this on the recording, you can use the QR code for that. If there's any problem whatsoever with that discount on our website, do contact us, and we'll sort out any glitches. But hopefully that'll all work very much. So in wrapping up, I'd just like to remind everybody that the Nautical Institute is a membership organization. We have members all over the world. We have about 10,000 members now. There are branches all around the world. If you like physical meetings, you get Seaways magazine, lots of many benefits of membership. So do give that a look. And I will just thank all of our speakers. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time and your wisdom, and for sharing that with everybody so that they can make better decisions. And thank you for everybody in the audience. I hope you found it valuable. And there will be a little survey at the end that you can share your thoughts with. So again, everybody, thank you very much, and goodbye.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.